Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Season 9 of Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Man, 2020 was one Tartarus of a year for everybody. We've had fires, killer bees in Washington, contagious bats, and what's worse, we had a global pandemic that's been infecting and killing everybody. And let me just tell you, wearing a mask isn't very comfortable all day, considering the fact that I have respiratory problems while wearing these blasted things. However, the good things that came out of that terrible year was receiving a new president, still working at Target, participating in 3 online musical cabarets with my musical theater village friends, having an online conversation with an inspirational actress, reaching my 3rd decade living, and making a cameo in one of Jaime Tude's videos. Plus, doctors and nurses everywhere are working very hard to make sure that everybody gets vaccinated so we don't have to go through COVID anymore. Anyway, today, I want to start off Season 9 with an animated movie that you might find quite obvious. Now, as I stated in a few of my older videos, I don't believe that mankind or the world itself will ever end. But, at the same time, it's a very scary thought. And everyone seems to speculate what the world might be like if mankind does die. Some people believe that cockroaches, machines, or even apes might rule the world. But, what if the dominant life form might be the things you wear on your hands, like gloves, or even sacks or fabrics? Well, believe it or not, in 2009, Tim Burton and Shane Aker made a movie out of this theory. So, released on September 9th, 2009, the movie is simply titled 9. So, let's get started. In a world destroyed in a war between man and machine, a hand-stitched doll, codenamed 9, comes to life after a scientist dies while transferring his soul into him and 8 other Stitch punks. The world he has awakened in is a dark and frightening, barren wasteland where humans no longer exist, and the only signs of life are sentient ragdolls like himself, and machines that hunt them. The first Stitch punk 9 encounters is 2, who befriends him after fixing 9's voice box, and tells him something about what happened to the world. But suddenly, the duo are attacked by a robot known as the Cat Beast, who captures 2 and steals a talisman that 9 was holding on to in order to reactivate an evil machine that destroyed mankind known as the Fabrication Machine. 9 escapes and meets the other Stitch punks led by 1, who have been hiding in fear of the machines. Though 9 is technically the youngest of the group and 1 refuses to jeopardize their safety, 9 convinces his comrades that the only way to survive against the machines is to stop hiding, go on the offensive, and find out why the machines want to destroy them. As they'll soon come to learn, the very future of civilization may depend on them. So, what are my thoughts on the movie? Well, while this is not one of my favorite animated movies from 2009, it is still very thought-provoking, and it has a very serious message. Now, let's move on to Mustang notes. The movie is based on Shane Aker's Academy Award-nominated 2005 short film of the same name that was created at the UCLA Animation Workshop. It received an Annie Award nomination for Best Animated Effects in a Feature Production. As of 2019, this is the only adult animated film released by Universal Studios under Focus Features to date. Now, in my eyes, the animation for this movie is pretty unique due to the environments looking very dark and very barren and mostly deserted, and the factory looks very spooky. Plus, I think several of the Stitch Punk characters are very interesting. Plus, I'm glad that Tim Burton is part of the movie's team due to the fact that he is my favorite filmmaker, next to the Walt Disney Company, by the way. Also, the machine monsters in the movie are very cool, like the fabrication machine, the cat beast, the wing beast, and the seamstress, which, in my opinion, are creative and frightening. Plus, they are reminiscent to the 1999 sci-fi thriller Virus, which I rented from Netflix just recently. There's also the steel behemoths, which look like something you'd see in Star Wars or H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Except they look like they were designed by Nazis, and they're equipped with Gatling guns and artillery capsules with toxic gas. Plus, there are a couple other machines like the Seekers and the Spider Bots. Anyway, to me, these mechanical monsters give the movie a unique and frightening look, and they may give you nightmares for years to come. Sadly, the only flaw with this movie is that the beginning feels kind of rushed, but at least the rest of the film makes up for it with its animation, characters, and moral. And now, let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought them to life. The main character, Nine, is voiced by Elijah Wood, best known as Frodo Baggins from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, as well as Leo from Deep Impact and Mumble from the Happy Feet films. This character is the youngest of the steampunks, who represents the scientist's humanity, big-heartedness, and thoughtfulness, and sincerity. Nine is very intelligent, and he can make mistakes due to his curiosity. However, Nine seeks the truth in the history of his creation, and he wishes to know the meaning of life. Two is voiced by the late Martin Landau, whom I've talked about in my blog of Tim Burton's Frankenweenie. Two is the creative and genius portion of the scientist's personality. He's a kind, delicate old inventor. Plus, Two is fascinated by garbage and scrap, and he loves to explore the wastelands and look for parts for his inventions. However, while he is nice and a friendly character, I was very heartbroken when he got killed by the fabrication machine. Seven, the only female member of the group, is voiced by Jennifer Connelly, best known as Sarah from Jim Henson's Labyrinth, and she also got to be in the terrible Noah movie from 2014. Ugh. Anyway, Seven is my favorite character in the movie next to Two. You see, Seven is the fighter part of the scientist's personality, and she's a rebel and a loner who is willing to take many risks for the good of her people. Also, she seems very attached to 3 and 4 and acts as a mother or an older sister figure to them. The leader of the group, One, is voiced by the legendary Christopher Plummer, best known from The Sound of Music, along with Pixar's Up, Don Bluth's An American Tail, and Rockadoodle, and he narrates the Madeline TV series. Now, this guy is the fearful, arrogant portion of the scientist's personality. He demands absolute loyalty from the others, and he frequently bickers and clashes with Nine, who refuses to follow him. Also, One is seen to be quite rude, and he lacks guilt for his actions when the others do not do as he is asked. Next we come to 5, voiced by John C. Reilly, who would later voice Wreck-It Ralph, Eddie in Illumination Sing, and he also got to be in Kong Skull Island. Now, 5 is the healer part of the scientist's personality. I find this guy to be a caring, nurturing, loyal, big-hearted common man who always tries to play peacemaker. He's seen as the most frightened by the situation, as shown throughout the movie. But, despite being afraid of conflict, he's very skilled with his weapons of choice, and he is seen to mend the other members of the group when they are hurt. Another character to talk about is the scientist, voiced by Alan Oppenheimer, who voiced one of the oomps in Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. This guy was responsible for inventing the fabrication machine and later the 9 Stitch Punks in order to fight against the machine monsters, hoping that they would continue the spark of life. Each of his creations contains a portion of his human soul, embodying both his qualities and flaws. The fabrication machine only contained his intellect but no soul, which he later regretted not giving, as it led to the machine's corruption. You know, I find this character the most interesting, and I thought his holographic message was very shocking, and it was also sad when he transferred the last of his soul into 9 before he died. The other Stitch Punks in the movie include the twins 3 and 4, who have no voice actors, 6, voiced by Crispin Glover, and 8, voiced by Fred Tatasciore. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, 9 may not be one of my favorite animated films from 2009, but it is an interesting one due to the animation and storytelling, and the moral is very important, because I think you shouldn't always put your trust in machines. Sometimes it has to be you who has to make the decisions, and maybe the future can be brighter if we all work together. And even if mankind shall perish from our earth, life will find a way to carry on. Still, if you want to watch this movie, I think you should check it out, but I wouldn't recommend people under the age of 13 to watch this due to the scary imagery. Still, I give this movie an 89% out of 100. Well, that's all for now, everybody. Be sure to join me for my next episode. Mustang Power.